Hello, my name is Beck and welcome to a wrap-up of some books that I have recently finished. At the end of September, I ended up finishing Legion Lies of the Beholder. It's the third book in the Legion series and this is a bind-up of all three. This story is about Stephen Leeds and he sees hallucinations, about 50 or so of them, and he interacts with them as if they're real people. These hallucinations are aspects of Stephen Leeds' mind, and this novella series mixes sci-fi and mystery together with unpredictable twists. Overall, I really love the twists and turns in this book. I predicted none of them and I saw nothing coming. And the ending, while it was a little bit cheesy, I still really enjoyed it and I ended up giving this 5 out of 5 stars. Next, I finished an audiobook by Joe Abercrombie and that is The Blade Itself, and this is the first in the First Law fantasy trilogy. I've seen this book recommended to fans of Name of the Wind and Brandon Sanderson, so this seemed like a perfect read for me. It had a blend of underlying magic and politics and world building that just kept me listening and I couldn't put this down. In this book we follow Logan, the Bloody Nine Fingers, and he can communicate with spirits. We also follow Glockta, who has been crippled by torture and also works as a torturer for the Inquisition to unveil information, and the crux of the political story kind of sat with Glockta. We also follow Giselle, who is a talented but arrogant noble son learning how to fence. These aren't the only 3 characters, there are several others, and eventually they collide and the decisions and the outcomes of these collisions are really what made me keep reading. I don't know why I couldn't give this 5 stars, but I gave it 4.5. The magic system in this world kind of sits on the margins and is very vague and almost forgotten. Despite this being a politically driven story, which is the story that I'm not usually interested in, the characters in this were really unique and strong, and that is what kept me going. I'm really excited to see where this goes and how the magic system comes to light even more. There is so much more to learn and uncover and I can't wait. The next thing I read was actually a comic and that's called Miss Marvel No Normal. This is the perfect crossover point between a diverse young adult book into the Marvel comic universe. Kamala is our main character and she's a 16-year-old Muslim girl and she just wants to go out to a party but her parents prevent her from going. So she ends up sneaking out and while she's there she discovers she has Miss Marvel's powers and she ends up saving someone's life. Obviously the story grows and continues from there, but I just love how down to earth and confused in general Kamala was. This comic had me grinning so much. Kamala has such dorky charm and I'm keen to continue on with this series. I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. I finished Scarlet by Marissa Meyer next, and this is such a fun, fast-paced read and I listened to it on audiobook. This is the second book in the Lunar Chronicles series. I'm sure you've heard of it if you've been on BookTube for a while, and each book covers a Disney princess retelling in a sci-fi scenario. I love how all of these books connect. I didn't expect some of the things in Cinder to show up in Scarlet, but obviously this book is focused on Scarlet as she goes and tries to find her grandmother who's been kidnapped. Scarlet as a protagonist was impulsive but emotional and determined, and I really loved her honesty. Because this was a fairy tale retelling though, sometimes I generally find romance in books a little bit overpowering, but in this series I could completely forgive it because it just goes along with the story so well. I absolutely devoured this book and I can't wait to continue on with the others. I've already got Cress ready to go on my phone. And I ended up giving Scarlet 4 out of 5 stars. The final book in this wrap up that I've got to show you is Bridge of Clay by Marcus Zusak. This is a story that follows 5 brothers as they recover from the grief of their mother's death, and it's about the main brother Clay who builds a bridge to connect them. When I started reading this, I couldn't really tell ambiguousness from what was literally happening, and that's why I struggled a little bit with this book. Because it was the author of The Book Thief, I had huge expectations, but I kind of fell short. If you've watched my reading vlog, you know that this took a little while for me to get through, but I think that's because it was a combination of a slow book and an adult fiction, which is what I don't usually reach for. At the end of this book, there were a couple of lines that made me really emotional, and I really enjoyed that, but overall I kind of cruised through this story. I found it really hard to connect with the characters. I connected more to the situations and the circumstances that they were going through rather than who the characters were as characters. So I was going to give this a 4 out of 5 stars, but I think I might drop that a little bit to 3.5. This kind of just reflects my enjoyment of the book rather than the way it's written. I think the way it's written is beautiful and gorgeous. It just wasn't the right thing for me. And so these are the books that I have recently read. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you've read any of these, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye!